In today's video, 2 supplements that actually work with Kenton Angle.
All by myself.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Ravella from ProPhysique.com and from Boom Core Nutritionals. And this weekend, we're in Ohio for the Arnold Classic. And I got a special guest here. This is my man, Kenton Angle. Now, Kenton is the master behind so many of the supplements of the Core brand. And as a coach over the last couple of years, there's been a couple supplements that I feel have kind of changed the game. Because we kind of got stuck in this place a few years ago in the supplement industry where they were just rebranding and repackaging the same old stuff.
Pre-workout cycle.
Yeah. And even some of this stuff like creatine and creatinine and all this nonsense. But what's really exciting to me as a coach, I've really noticed some of the positive supplements that have helped my clients do better. And I don't talk about it a lot because I don't want to be a supplement pusher, but we're both with Core. So just going into that, you guys can know that. You can take this video for what it's worth. But Kenton knows the science behind these products. And a lot of the reason I don't always talk about supplements on my channel is because, you know what? You need to be an expert to be able to explain why there's so much benefit. So the 2 supplements that I want to talk about that I've noticed both anecdotally with myself and with my clients has been Core Load, which is a glucose disposal agent. And we'll get into that title because I don't really like that title. And we'll also get into Core Hard, which if anyone knows me, they know I basically feel like that's like my secret weapon.
Prep magic.
Prep magic.
Prep magic.
Literally with myself. Even my wife takes it, and she's not in prep. She just takes it to like feel better and healthier. So I want to get into those 2 products and a little bit of like, because they're not single item products. There's a couple reasons why, it's not just the ashwagandha, that's working, and each product. So I want to keep it relatable. So let's talk a little bit about, let's start with Core Load because that's the newer product. And what's exciting for me, and you can explain why it's working, is that when I take the product with my carbohydrates and I do it for a couple days at a time, what I notice is an improvement in my body composition, increased hunger, which, it's not a bad thing when I'm trying to be in the off season and I kind of get full very easily. So let's talk a little bit about the reason Core Load works and what the science is behind it.
So I could spend 2 hours talking about Core Load, so I'm going to do my best to condense it into a couple minutes in digestible components.
Do that.
I think that there are 2 ingredients that are the stars of the show for Core Load. There's 4 ingredients in the product total, but I really think that there's 2 ingredients that are sort of quote unquote doing the most of the work. The first one that I'm going to focus on, and I'm going to focus on it first because number 1, it's underrated, and 2, we're one of the only companies that use it for this specific application, is chlorogenic acid. Chlorogenic acid is one of the most prominent polyphenols found in coffee. So then you look into the research behind chlorogenic acid. It's absolutely fascinating because it's working through a number of independent mechanisms to sensitize your body to glucose. So you said you don't like the term glucose disposal agent. I don't like it either.
Well, the term disposal makes it sound like it's going...
Just getting rid of it.
It's like, okay, so I'm going to eat some carbs and magically they just kind of pass through your system.
Exactly. And that's...
Kind of like Olestra back in the day.
Which is the opposite of what you'd want. The first mechanism of action or pathway through which chlorogenic acid works is it actually attenuates or flattens the glucose curve.
You want the flat curve to help make sure that more is being shuttled to muscle tissue as opposed to adipose tissue.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because your muscle tissue, it's only going to be able to... Your glycogen synthase is rate limited by glycogen synthase, one of the enzymes that's responsible in glycogenesis. And
so during that spike, when the muscle is kind of maxing out, whatever's left is going to go to the adipose tissue?
Exactly, for de novo lipogenesis. The flatter the curve, the higher probability that myocytes, muscle cells, are actually going to be able to utilize the glycogen, or the glucose, convert it to glycogen through glycogen synthase and store it.
But everyone's afraid of insulin because of certain people in social media and on YouTube and on Instagram saying, you want to avoid insulin spikes when you eat. Whereas I think it's the opposite. I think a product like this, making sure you're getting a good dose of carbohydrates with a product like this is going to maximize the muscle usage, minimize adipose uptake, especially for a physique athlete where performance is important.
100%. Insulin is a highly anabolic compound. You just want to control it, and it's about maximizing its efficiency. And the beneficial thing about Core Load, due to the Berberis aristata and the chlorogenic acid, is that in addition to flattening the glucose curve, you are also sensitizing your cells to the effects of insulin, which is another finding in the research for chlorogenic acid, that it increased the insulin sensitivity index.
Perfect.
Which is a measure of how sensitive to the effects of insulin a particular cell line is.
Yep.
And Berberis aerostata does the same thing. It increases the mRNA expression, which is like a measure of the rate at which a particular compound's gene is producing the protein for it. That happened for insulin receptor substrate. That's for Berberis aerostata. So in addition to flattening the curve, it's also making your cells more sensitized to insulin.
So let's get into, so you talked about a rat study, and when we talk about KSM-66 or ashwagandha, what I found most interesting was the studies where they gave a placebo to a group of rats, or they gave ashwagandha to the rats, and the rats that had the actual supplement were able to swim, I think it was 4.5 hours longer than the rats that were not. So we get into some things like cortisol blunting. And the thing that I've noticed with my clients that take Core Hard is an immediate change in weight and body composition without a change in any other aspect. We haven't changed in cardio, we haven't changed their diet. I feel like they sleep a little better. And people that I feel are kind of high anxiety tend to get this calming effect from Core Hard. So let's talk, obviously we know about KSM-66 ashwagandha. I've talked about that before. Let's talk about the other ingredients that you feel are benefiting people that are taking Core Hard specifically.
So in all of our products, I usually pick out like 2 superstars. Like every ingredient's effective and they're all included at or exceeding superclinical dosage. But unlike any other parent who doesn't want to admit this, I play favorites. You have a favorite child, don't watch this video. Non-favorite child. And for load, it was the Berberis aerostata chlorogenic acid. For Core Hard, in my opinion, it's the KSM-66 and the DIM. So what DIM does is like, it's endogenous hormonal adaptogen. So KSM is a systemic adaptogen. It's going to work in a systemic context and sort of help, and I know this sounds like BS, but it's actually in the research to help balance whatever your body needs. DIM's more limited. So it's going to work to reduce levels of the more harmful derivatives of estrogen and promote the kinds of estrogen that you want. One of the most fascinating findings in KSM-66 is they took 60 chronically stressed individuals, and I think we can all say competitors would most definitely qualify as like chronic. And I don't mean that in terms of even psychological, I mean physiological.
No, they intentionally stress themselves.
Exactly.
It's an overreaching phase. We're talking about a macro cycle of training. So they took 60 chronically stressed individuals, provided them KSM-66 over a long-term study. Again, linked below.
27.9% reduction in circulating cortisol levels.
Which is crazy.
It is absolutely massive. And despite the fact that, again, cortisol is another one of those compounds that people demonize, you need a sufficient amount of cortisol in your body. And like having too little cortisol is literally a pathological state that is has its own host of inimical physiological effects. But you want it managed. That is not only an adaptogen just like DIM, helping your body to increase more testosterone, which, by the way, there's also a human clinical trial showing that KSM-66 substantially increases endogenous testosterone. But you're reducing cortisol by 30% in an environment where your cortisol is overexpressed. So the fact that your clients see an immediate change in their body composition is not in any way stressful, because as you know, excess circulating cortisol levels in like the most bottom line executive level summary possible are going to make you look flat and watery.
You know, the big takeaway here when it comes to weight loss supplements is that there's nothing you're going to take. There's no fat burner. There's no branched chain amino acid. There's no KSM-66 that you're going to pop in and keep your life the same and lose body fat. That's not what the goal of these supplements is. The goal of these supplements as a coach for me is to put people in a position to be the most successful they can be. And what I find that this new strand of supplements that are coming out, they allow people to just be better performing, recover better, and it just makes the athlete better. Well, I think we've gone long enough because Kenton, my man here, could go for hours on these topics. So what I need to know from you guys about this video is, did you enjoy it? Would you like to know more about some of the products that we can talk about in depth? All right, guys, so we're going to be at the Arnold Expo all weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at 1923. That is our booth number. I'll put my hours here on the screen, and you can come by and see us and get a sample of some products and maybe some Murica Energy. Well, thank you, Kenton. I appreciate you coming on, my man.
Thank you, Paul.
And we're going to go shoot some content for Core now. I'll talk to you guys soon.